Sis, stop whatever you're doing for a moment and think about the woman you were 5 or 10 years ago. Think about the prayers she whispered when nobody else was listening. Think about the nights she cried herself to sleep, wondering if life was ever going to get better. There were seasons when you smiled in public and broke down in private. Seasons when people saw you functioning and never knew how hard you were fighting just to keep going. Some of you know exactly what it's like to build a life with no safety net underneath you. No connections opening doors, no one checking in to make sure you were okay. And some days, all you had was a prayer, a little faith, and a decision that quitting wasn't gonna be your story. And yet, here you are. Hi, I'm Patty, and today I wanna talk to the woman who made it through seasons she never thought she'd survive, and still somehow struggles to believe she deserves the life she's standing in. Here's what amazes me about women like you. You've survived things that would have broken plenty of people. You've rebuilt your life more than once. On paper, your story is one of pure resilience. But when someone compliments you, you get uncomfortable. When people admire what you built, you rush to explain how lucky you got. When someone calls you inspiring, you immediately start listing everything you haven't accomplished yet. You believe everyone else's success deserves to be celebrated. But when it's your own story, you shift the spotlight away from yourself before it can even land. It's almost like you're waiting for someone to officially tell you that you've earned the right to stand where you're standing. Can I lovingly tell you something, Queen? That day may never come because the validation you've been waiting for was never meant to come from people in the first place. If we were sitting together today, I think you would tell me, well, Patty, I don't want to become proud. I understand that. As a woman of faith, we never want to take credit for what God has done. But somewhere along the way, a lot of women confuse giving God the glory with refusing to acknowledge their own obedience. Those are not the same thing. Giving God the glory doesn't mean pretending you didn't show up. It doesn't erase your discipline, your tears, your faithfulness. God opened the door, but you still walked through it. God gave you strength, but you still had to get back up every single time. So today we're talking about why you've grown so uncomfortable honoring the very testimony God wrote through your life. So here's what I want you to carry through this whole episode. You're not struggling because you didn't have enough proof. You're struggling because you spent so many years surviving that you never paused long enough to even notice. You became the answer to your own prayers. Sit with that. You prayed for strength, now you're strong. You prayed for wisdom, now people come to you for advice. You prayed for opportunity. Now you're standing in rooms you once only dreamed about entering. But because every breakthrough was chased by another battle, you never stopped to say, look at what God brought me through. You just moved straight to the next mountain. And somewhere in all that movement, you forgot how to witness your own transformation. Some journeys only make sense to the person who walked them. People see the business, but they never saw the rejection emails. They see your confidence now, but they never saw the panic attacks you prayed through in silence. They see today's version of you, but they never met the woman who almost quit. They never met the woman crying in her car before walking into a job she hated because she needed the paycheck too badly to leave. They never met the woman staring at her bank account wondering how God was going to make a way this time. And they never met the woman who kept encouraging everyone else while quietly wondering if anyone would ever encourage her back. Those moments matter because they became the foundation of who you are today. And maybe that's why you still feel lonely sometimes. And not because you're alone now, but because nobody truly understands what it cost you to get here. Only you and God know the full story. Queen, God saw it. Every prayer, every sacrifice, every tear, every time you chose faith over fear, none of it went unnoticed. And none of it was wasted. One of the saddest things I see is a woman finally arriving at a place she once prayed for and still feeling like she doesn't belong there. You'll think that the victories will silence the doubt. And for a lot of women, it's the opposite. The bigger the blessing, the louder the voice asking, do I really deserve this? The reason is simple. You got so used to surviving that you never learned how to live from a place of receiving. For years, your mind was wired for the next obstacle, the next bill, the next breakthrough you had to fight for. So when life finally starts to look different, your nervous system doesn't quite know what to do with peace. You keep glancing over your shoulder, waiting for something to fall apart. You downplay your wins because part of you still feels like the woman who was barely holding it together. Your circumstances change, but your identity never got the memo. That's why you still introduce yourself like a woman who's struggling, even standing in the season God already carried you into. Sometimes we get so attached to the story of our pain that we don't know how to hold the story of our growth. Can I ask you something, Queen? If another woman came to you with your exact story, would you call her weak, or would you tell her she got lucky or that she doesn't deserve what she built? Of course not. You're not gonna say that. You'll look at everything she survived and tell her she's stronger than she knows. So why is it so hard to say that to yourself? You've become an expert at cataloging what you still lack while ignoring the evidence of what God has already done. Look at the wisdom you carry now that you didn't have 5 years ago. Look at the resilience you built surviving seasons that should have broken you. That didn't happen by accident. That's evidence. Evidence that God has been faithful. Evidence that your obedience mattered, even when nobody was watching. I want you to pause today, and not because the journey is over, but because gratitude lets you see you're no longer the woman who started it. She was faithful, and so are you. For a long time, I thought survival was the destination. And if I could just make it through one more hard season, I figured life would finally make sense. But God doesn't walk you through hard seasons just so you can say you survived them. He does it because he's shaping someone. The disappointments taught you endurance. The closed doors taught you discernment. The loneliness taught you how to hear God's voice when nobody else was speaking. None of it was punishment. It was preparation. Survival was never meant to be your permanent address. It was only ever a season. So there comes a point where God says, now stop surviving and start building. Stop asking if you belong and start serving from the place I already brought you to. Because your story was never only about you. Somebody else needs the hope inside your testimony. But they can't receive it if you keep acting like your story isn't worth telling. So what do you do now, Queen? What do you do when you realize you spent years asking God for proof, while your whole life became the proof? The first thing is, stop measuring your life by what's still missing and start measuring it by what God has already done. And I'm not telling you to stop dreaming, but if you move the finish line every time you reach it, you'll spend your whole life feeling behind, even while standing inside answered prayer. When was the last time you actually sat with your own story, and not to relive the pain, but to recognize the grace? The second thing is, stop disqualifying yourself from rooms God already qualified you for. I've watched incredible women walk into opportunities already rehearsing an apology for being there. If God opened the door, why are you still standing outside asking permission to walk through it? He doesn't place his daughters in rooms they aren't ready for. He prepares them long enough before the room ever appears. The third thing is, stop treating your story like something to hide and start treating it like something to claim. Some woman out there doesn't need another motivational quote. She needs evidence. She needs to look at you and think, well, if she made it through, maybe I can too. Your story is that evidence. Some women spend their whole lives waiting for recognition that was never supposed to come from people, waiting for the family that doubted them to finally admit they were wrong, waiting for someone or anyone to acknowledge how hard they fought. And while they wait, life keeps moving. So sis, I said all that to say, some people would never understand what it cost you to become this woman. Not because they're bad people, because they simply weren't there. They weren't there when you cried yourself to sleep. They weren't there when your faith was the only thing holding your life together. But God was. He saw every silent sacrifice, every whispered prayer, every time you wanted to quit and you chose to trust him one more day instead. You don't need the world to certify what heaven already witnessed. Your validation was never supposed to come from applause. It comes from knowing whose hand carried you. The moment you stop chasing it, you're finally free to walk in the confidence that comes from knowing exactly where your strength came from. I want you to go home today and really look at your life, and not through the eyes of the woman who's still counting everything left to accomplish. Look at it through the eyes of the woman you used to be, the one who prayed for opportunities she couldn't see, who wondered if God had forgotten her, who just hoped one day she'll feel stronger. If she could see you now, what do you think she'll say? I don't think she'll criticize you for not being further along. I think she'll be amazed. She'll look at your strength and remember when you believed you had none. She'll look at your peace and remember the nights you couldn't sleep for all the fear you were carrying. She'll remind you you made it, and not because life was easy, and not because every prayer got answered on your timeline. You made it because God never left you. He sustained you when you were tired, provided when you couldn't see a way forward, and somewhere along that road, you became the woman you once begged him to help you become. So stop introducing yourself as the woman who's still trying to make it. Walk like the woman who knows she's a living proof of God's faithfulness, evidence that God still restores, evidence that he still carries, evidence that he still keeps his promises. So from my heart to yours, I want you to always shine, always grow, and be the woman God created you to be. If this reminded you how far you've come, save it for the days you forgot your own story. And if you know a sister who's been minimizing everything she survived because she's too focused on what she's still missing, send this to her. She needs to remember she isn't just surviving anymore. She is the proof. This was Patty, and I'll see you next week.